Whoa! We're live! Yay! Haven't done a live in a while. So let's look at this. No, come on. Yeah, washed out in the rain. Oh, I don't know if anybody knows this live. I want to start doing live streams again because, well, it's been a while and I kind of enjoy doing them. I'm like, I have my headphones on, but there's no reason to have them on. Haven't done a live in a while. Want to do live. Because, well, one, also it works tonight because we're getting rained out like heck. Like heck. I guess I should check the audio. Yeah, audio sounds good. I want to say thank you first before anybody that I know there's nobody here yet. But I want to say a big thank you to anybody who will stop by, and also the factor of like everybody who's been supporting the channel as of late, because the channel's been growing more than it has in the past year, like this year alone. And some of that has to do, well, all of it has to do with you guys. All of you guys are growing the channel, and it makes me happy. It makes me like feel energized, even though like right now I look drained, I look flustered. Right now I'm fighting an allergic reaction in my eye, which is great. It's so awesome. Helps you get so much work done when your cat is causing you to sit down for a bit. Oh, my shoulders. But it's all good. Today, just no matter what, it was supposed to be a day where I sit. And yes, I understand my crib's in here because me and the child share a room. My office and my son's room is the same room. So maybe let's just put that over there. Put that a little bit more straight. Yeah, that works. But yeah, I've been having an allergic reaction and it's affecting me because I sleep on this side and the cat likes to use my pillow as her bedding while I'm gone. And before we used to put a sheet over it, I guess the last couple of, like this week's been so hectic I've forgotten. Well, I'm now paying the consequences because allergic reactions. It's not the best to have a cat that you're allergic to. It's whatever. But yeah, I was thinking about doing live streams again, maybe every Wednesday, because it will be a little bit easier on me editing wise. As the last 2 weeks I've fallen back behind just because the factor of it's hard to get a lot of work in editing done, and I'm in the process of making like 4 different videos because I don't think it's good enough to like the current video I'm working on right now for the 05 Sunfire. I'm working on some of the rust repairs in the back of it, and I have like 4 days into it already, and it's like this isn't enough video. This is so it sucks because we're being rained out today, and we might get rained out tomorrow, and I only have a yard. That video might not go out, but I want to say there are videos coming. There's actually a bit of videos coming. Let's cut audio there. I don't know if you guys heard double audio or not, but there are lots of videos coming. There is a lot of progress to be done. There's a lot of projects. The 64 project is a big project that's going to be done. What other projects are there? There's lots of projects. I can't remember them all. 64. I still don't know what to do with that LS motor sitting in the Tahoe, considering that frame is pooched. And I was sort of thinking, I'm like, we could LS swap my 67 and make that a good runner again and convert it to 4x4. But I wouldn't even know how to do that, to be fairly honest. And like typically when I have an idea in my head that I want to do something, I'm pretty good at visualizing how it's going to go together. But trying to think of how can an O2 differential like front diff and rear diffs go into the rear diff's pretty easy to go into the 67 frame. It's the front diff that's hard, and also finding space for the transfer case because that's an L60E with a electronic transfer case, which is no difference between the electronic transfer cases and the manual transfer cases. The transfer cases are the same. All it is instead of your little your shifter is a spline shaft. Instead of your manual going through the gearing through the transfer case, it is a like window washer motor. It's a little electric motor. Hey brother, how you doing? J-Ride Customs. I still. It's been a while since I've gone on and seen your place, but I know you're working on a bunch of stuff, and I'm very jealous. Funny enough, you to pop in chat. I'm very jealous that you got a full floor pan, supports, rockers, and everything. And the fact that I know now that you can get that with the inner and outer rockers is fan-flippin-tastic, because it's just as much as like any other guy, I like doing the patch panels, which like I know when my one buddy right now is doing on his 60s Bel Air, he's doing patch panel on the floor. It's just the amount of hours you spend on that is crazy. So being able to buy a full floor with all the supports, with all the inner and outer rockers, man, that's awesome. And maybe I'm spoiling stuff because I don't know if you're ready to make a video on that or not. But anybody that follows me and stuff, follow J-Ride Customs, I've picked up some stuff from him. There's a couple shorts on the channel here with him in them. He's got a lot of cool stuff. It's crazy. And he's got a bunch of cool stuff coming. I know it's like, you're always building something. And I'm a little bit jealous because your nice shop space and insideness contributes to that. But I'm getting stuff done here in the dirt. And my hokey cash trailers. But yeah, I've lost train of focus. I just want to jump on live and hang out with people if people do want to hang out or not. I don't know. I guess I could add people to this if I know people. Like I said, it's been a long time since I've done a live, so I know it is very much unscheduled and very much not used to my audience anymore, but I want to start bringing that back. It's maybe every Wednesday, do a live stream, maybe do it for like an hour or two and go from there, because I don't know. One, it makes one evening a little bit easier on the video editing side, and two, I get to hang out with some pretty cool guys and gals, anybody who's interested in motors, because I'm a motorhead for the most part. I maybe crank myself against the motor a little bit too many times, but at least the motor ends up cranking over, hopefully. But yeah, lots of stuff going on with Project 64. 64, I haven't even started cutting into it. I know the O2 Sunfire. I want to cut down the O2 Sunfire for the 64 project down first, which I have stuff to start doing that. It's just time. I don't have time. This weekend, and hopefully they get a bunch of videos off of this weekend. This weekend, I'm heading out to an old family junkyard in Saskatchewan, and where they check out some old cars. There's one there I really want to bring back, and it's for one project that I've started with the channel and stuff that people that we haven't really dived into, but it's because of it's called like the budget hot rod or something like that, and the main reason for that is the frame is from a repo of one of my ex-friends, whatever, not getting into too much details, owed me a lot of money and a lot of stuff, and what I got out of it was a very rusty S10 frame. Out of all of my engine parts, out of all the money, it kind of sucks, but it's also like, well, I have something. So I have an S10 frame that, well, I'll say the frame is all right. It needs a lot of work. It needs like the complete suspension on it redone, just for safety and brakes and all that. But it did come with the rims, so there is a plus with that. Even though only 2 of the rims have the beauty rings and center cap. So eventually, when I dive a little bit more into that project, I will have to look for those. But special thing there, got them. Originally, it was supposed to be the V6 4.3 Vortec going into that, but I don't want to run the computer and all that stuff and all that hokiness in that motor. And to convert it to a carburetor, I need a carbureted intake, Well, carbureted intake's not so easy to get for a V6 anymore, and brand new, that's like $600. NS10 is a great frame to start with, even if you are just using it for the clip. Yeah, I agree with that. Like an S10 is a great frame to start with, even if you're using it for the clip. S10 frame is a very good size because this is where it's nice. Where even for if you're using older stuff or newer stuff, like 70s is where they start getting very wide. But their frames are with the X frame stuff because we have one sitting in the yard underneath the 64. The X frames are very narrowed, so even for those wide cars, an S10 frame is pretty good because it's a narrow frame. Another thing that that's really good for is one like it's a narrow frame and they're cheap on suspension. They're cheap on like I'm pretty sure I looked up on Amazon. You can spend $300 for the complete front end for ball joints, upper ball joints, the sway bar links with the sway bars, and it may or may not have come with the coil. I didn't look into that, but like anyways, they sell like complete kits for an S10 frame, which is nice, and they're pretty universal. So, but they're good for stuff all the way from like the 40s, which I is kind of would like to be the idea for that frame, all the way to newer stuff, just to slap on the frame, and it's pretty low to the ground and pretty rugged. Like when the suspension's all good, it's pretty rugged anyways. It's a small, like quarter-ton truck suspension, which is sometimes better than a car. Easy to fabricate on, because right now the 64 projects may be a unibody build. That's a bit harder to fabricate and do stuff with. A body on frame build is way easier because you can build your body and then mount it to the frame. Versus a unibody, is they have to be cobbled together. Like when I start cutting apart the O2 Sunfire for the 64 project, I do know I may have to do a lot of cross bracing, because when I cut off the roof on that thing, because we got to cut off the roof and remove the rear quarters, which will be a whole ordeal. I have some tools that just came in that will make that job probably a lot quicker. I am going to cross brace probably along the trunk because I got to remove the trunk, so I may probably put a couple I have square tubing along the trunk space to make the trunks stay spaced out, and as well put them forward all the way to the firewall front and back, and then probably X brace it, and then remove the rear quarters, the doors, and the roof along the roof line and all that, and then the rear quarters is the only metal in that thing behind the wheel well, because the wheel well works in that car. The inner wheel well comes up and it matches the rear quarter, and that's where it matches from. But then past that is only one sheet of metal. As I think if people have gone back and seen the video on the O2 Sunfire, when I punch through the one trunk hole there, it's in the trunk. So that's just one sheet of metal. Is that rear quarter is the one sheet of metal for about 1.5 feet, I want to say, of metal. Daddy duty night. No daddy duty night. My son is out for a walk, even though he's out for a walk to fall asleep, so he probably will fall asleep here. My office and my son's room is the same room. We only live in, because this is what we can afford, even though I want to say this is what we can afford, and then you see me building hot rods and working on cars, and I just bought the 64, but this is affordable living here where I'm at. Like we pay $1,000 for this house and the land, which is nice because the land is very much what it's worthwhile. But we have a 600 square foot house, so it's only a 2-bedroom. So my computer and my son's bed is in the same room. That's just what it has to be, because all of the safety stuff and like my hunting equipment and everything stays in our bedroom. Because, well, we got to put stuff somewhere. And the kitchen has all their food and stuff. And the living room has tons of stuff. Like, even a lot of, like, I won't tell you, he's not even that old yet. And he has so many goddamn toys. And every time we go to a garage sale, we buy, because I grew up with little wooden cars and trucks. And back when I was a kid, not that long ago, they had Tonka. Tonka was a wooden brand where you built your own little wooden truck. I remember I had a dump truck, I had a boat, I had a train, whatever, Tonka brand. Well, because I grew up with those, and I'm very nostalgic that every time we go to garage sales and we see like a wooden car or a wooden truck or a wooden, like something made out of real wood, we pretty much snatch it up because I think we even have a wooden tractor for my son. I love those toys. He loves those, so those sit in our living room. Again, way off topic with that. But back to talking to unibody versus X and stuff like that. A unibody build, like you're there's no frame versus body. Unibody is just slapped on. Like unibody is together; it's one piece. So all your structure and everything has to be combined into like the rockers, because typical unibody, I mean, say you have your floor pan and your floor pan then comes down. Then you have a structural piece that comes down from your A-pillar all the way down to it, and then it kind of rides through the middle as a metal strip, and then you have your rocker. And so you have 3 sheets of metal there, your floor pan, an inner structure, and then your rocker. And it sandwiches that, and those 3 pieces then become your pinch weld. And that's what you lift on the cars and that. So it's very structural. It's 3 sheets of metal. Typically, it should be enough to lift off at any point until they get rusty and thin and all that, and they become junk. I do know for the O2, when we build, incorporate everything, I may be rebuilding the pinch weld. So from the floorboards out, I got to see what I want to do. If I'm just saying weld something to the bottom of the floor and remake the pinch weld, or if we're just saying delete the pinch weld and smooth seal it, and then I will put some C-channel in to make some lifting points where the car will be safe to lift from. As long as structure, like everything has to be structure-wise. The good thing is most unibody cars and most modern unibody cars, not so much old unibody cars. Old unibody cars, they just come to the pinch weld floor pan, main structure piece that comes up between the middle and through the rocker and everything, and the rocker joining once the rocker circles around and comes back down to. Most older ones don't have a C-channel inwards or anything, or they only have it in the back if it's a rear diff, or they only have it in the front, like I want to say late 70s and early 80s Camaros and Firebirds, because I was working on one the other day. They have just C-channeling in the front of the car. They don't have anything in the back. It's just pinch weld goes straight to the back, but the front of the cars have a C-channel piece that comes up and on. Lucky enough with the Sunfires and Cavaliers, they have a C-channel piece. I know it's all very technical body stuff that probably not a lot of people care about, but I do. Sunfire and Cavaliers, they have from a midsection all the way to the rear to the back, and all the way to, it goes all the way from the front, from attaches to your A-pillars and your main firewall, all the way back. So it's not all the way to the front of the car, but it comes from your firewall to the back of the car to where your bumper ties in. So if anyone's seen the Instagram, some pictures, I guess I can show those. Yeah, okay, so here's a picture if anybody can see. So that's a brace. So that brace is the C-channel that comes on a Sunfire all the way back, and that's where the bumper bolts on. Now, on that picture I just showed, where the trunk plates, because the trunk pan sits on top of that brace and it comes down in front of it, and then your rear body metal, I guess it's the metal behind where the bumper sits and everything is just there to keep moisture out, water out, and everything like that. Also, then slides in front of that. So I got to rebuild those 2 pieces of sheet metal. That's for the 05 Sunfire. Those sandwich onto that C-channel, and then it gets all sandwiched together with the bumper brace. So that's good for that car. So I'm not too worried about the Sunfire because I should be able to lift it from that C-channel anyways. So it's not too much of that. So I might delete the pinch weld completely and get a very smooth look. That way, if I do decide later on, it's all up in the air because right now I just want to build the car. But if later on I want to lower it, it would be seamless, which would be a cool look for it, and would take a lot more work to do. But it would be very cool to do, and it just kind of play around with it. All of it is to kind of show like what I can do. Like that build is kind of this maybe a very ugly build that people are going to hate me for as maybe patinaed, but it's I want it to eventually look like I don't want people to see the welds. So I'll grind down the welds and stuff once the body's all together after the body's been shortened and cut. And patina paint it. So obviously you paint it red, and then obviously I'll paint it the whatever it's called, Nightingale blue or something. I don't even remember. A GM blue, which actually both cars, the O2 Sunfire and that car, are blue, so it'll match with the patina because I won't have to paint the underneath of the car to match the body, or the body to match the undercover. When someone lifts up the other bit, oh, that looks like it belongs together because there's the same blue. 40 years of difference, pretty much the same blue, which is hilarious that Pontiac has used the same. Also, and I found out when I did the comparison of the rockers of a modern Sunfire rocker and the 64 Sunfire rocker, they're pretty much the same. So I have some aftermarket replacement Sunfire rockers. Those will go on and it'll look proper. So it's going to be a thing that probably once it's done and it's driving down the road, somebody's going to look at it and be like, that looks too short, but it looks proper, but it's too short. And they'll get confused about it, especially since it would probably only look proper because I'm cutting on the fender, I'm cutting down the rear cab. If I cut down the trunk, it would probably look proper. But because we're going to leave the trunk big because lots of storage space, because that's what the girl wants, and I kind of want to put, well, the roof's going to have a rake in it. I don't know if I want to put a body rake in it, considering just the roof's going to have a rake. I'll have to play with it in my head and play with it and see how I like it or not, where the body sits once we brace up both the unibody, and then we'll have to brace up the body itself to lift it up and put it there, even though the body, where the body lands won't matter too much. So flexing that, it'll just be bracing it enough to make it strong enough, because it's pretty weak considering there's a lot of rod in it, to lift it. Not so much to keep it straight, because one, the car is already not straight because it's been hit in the passenger rear quarter, and I showed that in the video. There's actually where it's been hit on the wheel well, there's a crack up behind the window, up where the rear pillar is. So that body is already kind of tweaked anyways, so I'm not worried too much about that. We'll probably straighten that out when it all gets cut apart and readjustments and taking measurements and everything, because all of my measurements will be from front firewall to front center, front firewall to center of wheel well, and then everything will matter on the rear quarters where the rear wheel wells are, and that's where I'll take my measurements from. If I have to cut out a little bit of more metal or save a little bit more metal because something's been tweaked over time and shrunken, if the metal is shrunken from the impact or stretched, I'll be able to play with it. That's not a worry I have. Sorry, lots of freaking metal terms and all that. But aside from that, the reason that unibody is anything a lot of work and it's going to show a lot of craftsmanship, it would be so much easier. And I know a couple people have mentioned this before. Why don't you just LS swap it and throw it on the Tahoe frame? Well, one, the Tahoe frame has frame rot between the gas tank and the gas tank and the frame. The frame is actually, like, I can stick my hand right through it, it falls right apart. As well as where the one rear trailing arm, I guess you could call it, attaches and stuff like that. There is rot also stuck underneath between the trailing arm and the frame, not where it bolts up, but between there and stuff that I'm poking through. So that side of the frame is compromised. I do not have a strong enough welder to, I laugh, I can weld unibodies together because unibodies are just sheet metal upon sheet metal upon sheet metal to make pinch weld, to make structure and all that. And unibody, it's a lot of structure. There's just a lot of welding compartments to it to make a unibody versus a body on frame. Like, frames are either a box frame or a C-channel frame is solid. So it has to be thick metal to begin with, which you need a lot of temperature, a lot of heat to weld, which I don't have. My welder is a 120 volt or a 110. I think it says actually on the welder 140, but if you're sticking it to a 120 volt outlet, which I only have, or 110 volt outlets, you're only getting like 110. Like, you can only promise yourself 110 volts. So my welder is 110. Same with the fact of some of the tools that I just bought to help with this stuff. I don't have two-phase. Is it called two-phase when it's 240? They consider it 240 because, yeah, everything voltage counts as 120, but really you should only promise yourself 110. And then, yeah, two-phase is 240. Brain's thinking. I don't have 240 here set up yet at this. Well, I won't ever set it up here because this is a rental. Once we buy a house and maybe a shop in the future and not work in the dirt, which then we won't be sitting inside with the rain, then we'll consider it. Which is funny because I won't work in the rain because it makes mud, and once you walk on dirt and stuff, because I'll be crawling underneath the car in dirt and it's wet and stuff, you start to create a mud hole and you'll actually sink yourself into the mud hole, which sucks. And you lose tools and then become dirty and everything becomes dirty. It sucks. Versus working in a snowstorm, because there are videos on this channel of me. I think I was repairing another Sunfire, because Sunfires I do all day, every day. I was working on brakes. I was repairing brake lines in the middle of a blizzard. Like it was blizzarding out. It was minus 35 degrees. Well, we counted Celsius up here. Yeah. So minus 35 degrees Celsius. It's blizzarding out. I think it was a wind chill of 42. It was horrible. And I'm sitting underneath this car repairing brake lines in this storm because it needed to be done because the next morning my sister had to take that car and drive to work, and I had to work the next day, so I can sit there and do it in the day the next day or whatever. So it was just a quick, here, let's just get this repaired. And for some reason, I decided to film it while I'm doing it because that's the right thing to do in the blizzard. Not, but that's crazy things. So the 64 is there for the. Aside from that, because that's all bodywork talk and everything like that. The 67. The 67, I'm kind of at a standstill. One, because I got to put a new exhaust on it. The manifold blew up on it. Not blew up. It cracked and imploded the crack. So the crack, like where you should see flat metal on a manifold, the 67 is like popped like that. It like popped and went in a little bit. So the metal just kind of looks like an overlaying crack. But the manifold's completely toast. And the exhaust was pretty rotten and kind of fell off and fell apart, which to be understandable. It's an old truck, 67. What is that? That's 48,000, 60. It's like almost 6 years, 50 to 6 years old. I can't do math right now in my head. But like, so the 67 is an old truck.